And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers. Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
What is up, guys? Dirty Boot Sports, and we are back with another episode. This is episode 204, I do believe. I'm solo again tonight. Peyton is out of town on vacation, getting that last vacation in before football gets going. Chance has been busy with football and everything, and, you know, weeks are running away or running out of time, whatever. So I'm going to hop on and talk some football. This is the AFC West preview. Draft day is this weekend for us, for the Dirty Boot League. Saturday, we got that. I got another draft Sunday, 2 drafts the next weekend. So we got plenty of football that's coming up. And, you know, doing these previews helps me get my mind right in terms of, you know, where people are at for fantasy and everything like that. So these are fun to do. And the AFC West is certainly not the most exciting division this year. You could probably make an argument that it's the least exciting, besides maybe the NFC South, unless you're a Saints fan. But really, you're probably not even that excited for the Saints this year, or at least I know I'm not. But yeah, the AFC West, it's pretty much the Chiefs and then 3 teams just fighting to hopefully be in a wild card contention, I guess. I mean, the Chargers might be good. Raiders, I doubt it. It's Minshew Mania there. I don't think he's going to lead them to many wins. And then there's the Broncos, who, you know, maybe you're a believer in Bo Nix. I believe Colin Cowherd called him Tom Brady today or something like that. He said that Bo Nix winning the starting job is like Tom Brady winning the Patriots job, which I don't think Brady ever won the job. He just got in because of an injury. So that's Cowherd, though. But yeah, this AFC West, not the most exciting. I'm going to save the AFC North until Chance and whoever else can get back. So, but yeah, we're going to get into this pretty soon. Hopefully it's the shortest one that I've done. But you know, I'll probably do this and then fall in love with the freaking Broncos or something, knowing me. But yeah, let's do an ad read, and we'll get it going. Mimi's is a children's boutique located in Jonesboro that fulfills all clothing needs for your little ones. Owners Melissa Johnson and Megan Harrell offer children and baby boutique brand clothing and accessories, vinyl print t-shirts, and so much more. You can find them on Main Street in Jonesboro from 10 to 6 Tuesday to Friday and 10 to 2 on Saturday. So shout out to Mimi's. Go get your kids some clothes. School's back in session. They got some school stuff. They got some football clothes as well. That I think they had some tech stuff, maybe some LSU stuff like that. Get your kids decked out in some gear and get ready for the season. But yeah, this is going to be the AFC West episode. And let me see who we're going to go with first. I believe it's going to be the Chargers, which, I mean, who would have thought going into last year that the Chargers would have been the worst team in that division? And also, I mean, what, number 6 overall pick? Number 5, which is pretty crazy. Their head coach would be gone, which that might have been the most predictable thing of any, because I don't think many people believed in Brandon Staley. And I don't know where he's at now. I feel like, did he get a defensive coordinator role? Maybe. I don't know why I'm questioning myself randomly. Brandon Staley is, what do you know? He's an assistant coach with the Niners. Because why not? But yeah, Brandon Staley's certainly not cut out to be a head coach in the NFL, and he is out of there. And the Chargers, who'd they bring in? You know, this guy named Jim Harbaugh. I think it's Jim. Yeah, I always get Jim and John mixed up. You know which one. The one that cheated in Michigan, but allegedly had nothing to do with anything, of course. But yeah, Jim, I think is which one it is. He is in L.A. now. Been highly talked about for years of when is he finally going to make this leap. And I think after a national championship and probably the biggest cheating scandal we've seen in college sports in quite some time, it's a good time to leave. And now he is with the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and Greg Roman at OC because he's a very well established OC that people love. But I do think Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, they have a similar philosophy in terms of what they're going to bring to the table offensively. So that matchup does work there. I just do not like it for the, I guess, for the Justin Herbert truthers because there's not going to be much passing the ball. And that was shown whenever you traded Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, or you traded Keenan Allen and you cut Mike Williams, I believe, very soon after Jim got there. So it's a new regime coming in, but that is definitely the biggest takeaway of this offseason is, do the Chargers finally have a coach to freaking make them relevant again? Because, yes, they've made the playoffs with Staley. They had the big, 28-7 lead that they blew against the Jags or whatever it was that year. They've certainly been a good team, but now you got Eckler out, you got Keenan out, you got Mike Williams out. Who else is gone? Some of the corners they brought in, like J.C. Jackson, I believe he's gone. So many of these guys that have made the Chargers who they were over these past couple years are out the door. And yeah, it's a new era for Chargers football. And I don't think they're going to have much success this year, but maybe they will. And that's my 4-minute monologue on the Chargers. But let's talk about some of their offseason moves. We got to go with the draft, I think. They took Joe Alt, number 5 overall, from Notre Dame. Whenever you can draft a Notre Dame offensive tackle in the top 10, you do it. Or any offensive lineman from Notre Dame. They're pretty high success rate, and it's about like drafting a Ohio State wide receiver or something like that. You're going to have a good chance of this player becoming pretty good. Joe Alt, though, he did go number 5. There were some rumors of J.C. Latham maybe getting there, who was certainly more of a project, but maybe has a higher ceiling. But with Joe Alt, look at that guy and tell me he doesn't fit Jim Harbaugh type of football, I guess you could say. Just hard-nosed, country strong looking boy of Joe Alt, and he's gonna be a great player. He'll probably be a Pro Bowler within 5 years, knowing him. He's gonna be good. And then number 2 overall for them, pick 34. They went and got a white wide receiver, Ladd McConkey. They got rid of Keenan, they got rid of Mike, and then let's just make it more Michigan, Notre Dame type looking football and bring in Ladd McConkey. But yeah, Ladd's from Georgia, very good player. He dominated the SEC, or I guess you could say dominate in terms of the SEC network people. They think he's a top 10 receiver in the past 10 years for the SEC, which is wrong. Just say that. But Ladd's a good player. I don't know if he's really built for maybe the role that he's about to have this year, because it might be pretty crazy. Quentin Johnston certainly isn't anything that we expected. Josh Palmer, I don't trust to be a 1 or 2, barely a 3. So Ladd's going to have probably more targets than he ever imagined. Why they took him over, someone like an Adonai Mitchell or Keon Coleman even, or, Jalen Polk. I don't know. I think those guys were more equipped for the situation that the Chargers needed, but hey, Jim Harbaugh, you can trust him maybe. And then Jim also took a linebacker from his from his college, Junior Colson, number 69 overall. What else did they get? They got Jerry Rice's son from USC late in the draft. They said he's looking pretty good. And they also got a Michigan wide receiver, Cornelius Johnson, at the very end. But the draft, it really comes down to how good can Joe Alt be and how quick can Ladd McConkey make his impact on this team. But then let's take a look at the departures. As I talked about, Keenan Allen, probably the biggest departure for the Chargers. Losing him and Mike Williams is kind of an end of an era, and those guys, as long as alongside Austin Eckler, have been such a pivotal part of what the Chargers have been the past 5 or so years, and it's kind of crazy to see them gone. And while they are gone, they didn't really replace them, which is very concerning if you are a Chargers fan, I would say, because Keenan probably coming off one of his best seasons of his career last year, And Mike coming off, I believe, another ACL injury. He's always getting hurt, so you don't really hate to see him go as much. And then Eckler, kind of on the back half of his career. I don't see him doing much else in the NFL. He is in Washington to be pretty much Jaden Daniels' safety net, and he'll catch some checkdowns from him this year, but that'll pretty much be it. You also lost Gerald Everett at tight end, Nick Vannett at tight end, and let's see who else. Will Clapp, the center from LSU, went to Buffalo. Austin Johnson on the defensive line. Eric Kendricks and Kenneth Murray, both pretty good linebackers for them last year, went to the Cowboys and the Titans. And then Michael Davis at cornerback. I think he was more of a rotational guy. Jalen Hawkins at safety. Really not much defensively besides, Kendricks and Murray, but Kendricks kind of on the back half of his career, and Murray never really panned out to be what you expected him to be. Let's take a look at the additions, though, which, wow, not many, to be honest. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are probably the biggest ones. 1-year deal for Dobbins, 2-year deal for Edwards, both reuniting with Greg Roman, who was the OC in Baltimore until Baltimore finally pulled the plug and got an OC that actually likes to throw the ball. So if you're a fantasy owner, this is a good backfield for, I think, J.K. Dobbins. I think he's going to have a really big role. And also I think Gus obviously will get some touches, but between them two, you're pretty set at running back. I think you also might have another guy from last year, Jarrett Patterson. Okay, never mind. He's the Buffalo guy. He's on his 3rd or 4th year probably. But between them two, you feel pretty comfortable. And as I said with Greg Roman, you're going to expect a lot of running the ball and kind of just controlling the game. And that kind of fits the play style Jim Harbaugh did in Michigan as well. I mean, J.J. McCarthy was a glorified just handoff guy. Like he didn't really have to throw the ball. Now, do you want to see Justin Herbert turn into that? No, but it kind of does take some pressure off of him and allow him to play more freely. And whenever he has to throw the ball, it'll be a lot more open up because they're going to have to actually trust the run. And it's going to be a lot different, but I think it can be a positive for Herbert in the long run. You also brought in DJ Chark, 1-year deal. I think this is the first time he's playing for a team that does not have a cat as its mascot. He's on the Chargers now. Will Dissly at tight end to replace Everett and Vannett. And you also bring in Hayden Hurst. Dissly and Hurst, I think that's maybe a slight upgrade. I think Everett's probably better than them, though. I don't know. That's a good 1-2 punch at tight end, and they're probably both going to get a lot of work in the Roman and Harbaugh scheme. Bradley Bozeman playing center, replacing Will Clapp. Poona Ford from the Seahawks. Bud Dupree, kind of just a prove-it deal, trying to get back in the role of things. Denzel Perryman at linebacker. Christian Fulton, LSU guy, and that's pretty much it. Not really anything impactful defensively. It's really like they just wanted a fresh start, which you can't really blame them because they have spent a lot of money over the past couple years. I mean, the J.C. Jackson contract that was just brutal. I think they ended up cutting him last year. Keenan Allen was on has a lot of money on his contract. There was talks of, do you pay Eckler? Luckily, they didn't. Joey Bosa's getting a big bag. Khalil Mack, Derwin James, I'm sure is getting paid. Rashawn Slater pretty soon is going to have to get paid. Like there's a lot of people that were getting a lot of money from this team, and it's a new era of Charger football. So you did kind of just reset the books and the team, and that might hurt you this year, but maybe next year and going forward, it's going to be a little bit better for the Chargers. Taking a look at the depth chart. Justin Herbert, obviously, at quarterback. I think he is fully healthy. He had some type of little issue come up, but I think he just got cleared this week. Gus Edwards is listed as a starting running back, but I expect J.K. Dobbins to fully take over that role. Now, is it going to be a 90-10 split? Certainly not. It'll probably be 60-40, maybe even 50-50, maybe 70-30. But I do think J.K. will be the more impactful running back, and Gus will kind of just be a change of pace guy, thunder and lightning combo that they've been for a couple of years now whenever they are healthy, which is been very rare. Receiving room, what a group here. Joshua Palmer at number 1, Ladd at the 2, DJ Chark at number 3. Do have Quentin Johnston at number 4. Brendan Rice is looking at the 6th spot right now, but I've heard some good things about him. Darius Davis, Cornelius Johnson, the rookie out of Michigan. Tight end, Will Dissly, Hayden Hurst, Donald Parham. Not a bad tight end room at all. And then your O-line, which is very good, I would say. Rashawn Slater at left tackle has been an absolute baller. He has been a great pick for them. And I expect pretty much the same out of Joe Alt at right tackle. Interesting to see Alex Leatherwood as a backup for them. Kind of just revitalizing his career after it was a bust, to say the least, in Las Vegas. You have Zion Johnson at left guard. Pretty sure he's a second-year guy from, I think, Boston College. Let me see. Third-year guy, 2022 first-round pick. Trey Pipkins at right guard, 2019 third-round pick. And then Bradley Bozeman, the newly signed center for them. But, three first-round picks. Trey Pipkins, who's been there for a while, and Bozeman, who's, I would say, an above-average center in the NFL. Very good O-line. Good tight ends. Hayden Hurst is used to that Greg Roman system as well. So you're gonna have a lot of room to run, and that's really what I think J.K. Dobbins is gonna have a great season for, as long as he does stay healthy, which is a big question. Looking at the defense though, Morgan Fox, Poona Ford, Joey Bosa. Not much else really on that defensive line. Poona's an all right player, but you are playing a 3-4 with Bosa and Mack coming off the edges at the linebacker roles. Denzel Perryman at middle linebacker, Troy Dye's there, Nick Neiman, Shaquille Quarterman, Bud Dupree also backing up Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Chris Rump, I believe that was one of their draft picks last season. He is in that rotation as well. Not great, honestly, in the front seven. You're really relying a lot on Bosa and Mack, and Bosa's been okay, not really anything close to his brother. He's been a fine player, though. Has had some injury issues, and then Khalil Mack, still a stud, but it's pretty much like sack or bust with him. Like, he don't really have much else in his bag, to be honest. And he's also getting up there in age, so you don't know how long he's going to be able to keep this up. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't try to move off of him to, reset some of that money again. I don't know if this is last year or not, but I feel like he has another 1 or 2 years at least. Looking at the secondary, Asante Samuel Jr., very good season last year. I think he's a fine cornerback 1, and then you have Christian Fulton on the other side, Derwin James at safety. I love watching him play. It's just, can he stay healthy? And then Alahi Gilman at the other safety. Also have Tony Jefferson back there playing some safety. Akeem Dent, JT Woods, Jasir Taylor at the nickel. Not a lot of depth, to be honest. I like the top of Samuel, James, and Fulton, but after that, not really much there. You're really requiring on some health from those guys, and health just really is never on the Chargers side. You do have Dicker the kicker at kicker for them, and J.K. Scott at punter. Let's take a look at the schedule, though. I don't love this team. It's just not very good on paper, to be honest. Opening up against the Raiders at home as well, so that's good. At Carolina week 2, at Pittsburgh week 3. They could start 3-0. Like, very realistically, those 3 teams they're playing could be 3 of the worst teams in football this year. Then you also play the Chiefs, so that's an L. Just going to say that. But it is at home, so maybe you can sneak away with a win. But versus the Raiders, Panthers, Pittsburgh, that's about as good of a season. As good of an opener as you could get for a new team, new regime, new everything pretty much with this Chargers team this year. I really do like that for them. Then you have an early bye week, week 5, and then you get into the grind. At Denver, at Arizona versus New Orleans. Still some winnable games here. At Cleveland versus Tennessee versus Cincinnati versus Baltimore on Monday night, the Harbaugh Bowl. Let's see what else we got. At Atlanta, at Kansas City versus Tampa Bay versus Denver, at New England, and at Las Vegas. So a lot of winnable games, but it's a team that's not very good in my opinion, and you are playing that last place schedule, so you do have to factor that in as to why it is a little bit easier of a schedule than you would mostly see around the NFL. Let me look up their wins, though. But I'm going to guess it's about 6.5. But really, it's a very favorable schedule for this Chargers team. And, with this Chargers team, yes, they're not – I'm not even going to say that they don't have a good roster. But they do have Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman, and a very good O-line. So they're going to be able to control the game and play the game that they want to. And also, if things get bad, you have Justin Herbert at quarterback who, yes, he's not really proven anything, but he's very gifted. Probably a top 5 gifted quarterback in the NFL. That's the best way that you can put it for him. But if things do get bad, you can lean on him. Now, who he's throwing the ball to is going to be a question and going to be pretty rough, but at least you do have a top-end guy instead of, Derek Carr. But J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, that's really going to be what you're relying on to carry this team, as well as that O-line. Oh, my God, 8.5 wins. Wow. 8.5 for minus 155. So practically 9 wins is what they're saying. Under is plus 130. That's insane, which I guess someone's got to win in this division, but man, it's tough to buy into that because I don't like the defense. I don't like the weapons on offense. I've got to take the under. There's no way that you can go over 8.5 wins. I'm not even going over 8.5 for the Colts or the Jags, and I would take their teams every day over this Chargers team. So Chargers under 8.5 plus 130, and then the big question for the Chargers is, it's got to be something Harbaugh related. Can Harbaugh instill new life into this team or something like that? That's pretty much what you're banking on this season is. I don't think they're going to be even close to a playoff team, even though Vegas apparently thinks so. They're going to think they're at 9+ wins. But I think you're just banking on seeing signs of this is going to be what we are in the future. Because I don't think there's going to be much to be happy about this year, but I do think in the future the Chargers will be a very good football team again. But man, that's a pretty rough line. It's a pretty rough line. I would not take that at all. But that is it for the Chargers. Moving on to the Denver Broncos. Big story for them this offseason was drafting Gio. Oh, not Gio. My bad. I'm watching the Braves, and Gio Urshela is playing some incredible third base. Bo Nix at quarterback. Bo Nix from Oregon and from the way of Auburn. Bo Nix, what is there to say about him? He's old. He loves football, apparently. He keeps cleats in his backpack. I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's a limited player. He did take some big strides at Oregon from what he was at Auburn. And especially last year, he looked really good to say that as fairly as possible. Bo Nix, though, I think he can be a fine NFL player, maybe a very low-end starter. I don't think he's going to necessarily elevate your team to greatness. And with the mind of Sean Payton, maybe it is a match made in heaven. I don't know. I'm not really going to buy into the hype. Yeah, he's playing fine football, but it's a lot of completions for very little yards. That's his style of football. A lot of check downs, a lot of short passes, stuff like that. People love him. I know Colin Cowherd, that's one that will die for him. But I don't buy into the Bo Nix hype. And given what Sean Payton has done in Denver, I'm not really buying into the connection there, to be honest. There's not much about this Denver Broncos team that excites me. But let me look around at this roster. You added Troy Franklin from Oregon, the receiver that played with Bo Nix. Apparently, he's been pretty awful in practice. I was kind of high on Franklin. I thought he was going to be a good player, but he has not looked good. You had the running back Esteem from Notre Dame, who I think is going to be either third or second string, depending on what McLaughlin is going to be lined up. It's going to be listed as. The departures for the Broncos, Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Not a bad season last year. I think he had 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, something like that. But it's a good thing that he is gone. You needed a fresh start. Now, is Bo Nix the answer? Probably not, but who knows? Jerry Jeudy to the Browns. Very disappointing career for Jeudy. He's had some injuries, but I mean, and at Alabama, he was the best receiver in football. Like, people thought he was a no-doubter, going to be a all-pro, like, dog. And he just really hasn't been that. He's been a fine player, but nothing crazy. You also lost Cameron Fleming, Lloyd Cushenberry to the Titans, Jonathan Harris, Josie Jewell, Fabian Moreau, Justin Simmons, just to the Falcons. But not a ton, really, for this team. I mean, Judy's a good player, kinda. Cushenberry was good. That's probably their biggest loss, him and Simmons, because Simmons has been one of the best safeties in football for a while. But it's not a devastating offseason in terms of losses. Additions, I don't think they added much. You got Zach Wilson for like free, just to bring him in for, maybe you can find some magic. Probably not. A little Jordan Humphrey coming back to play for Sean Payton, because why not? Josh Reynolds, 2-year deal, $14 million. I kind of like that. Josh Reynolds is a fine football player. The Lions honestly might miss him this year. He's a good 2, 3, 4 kind of guy. Like, he certainly isn't your one, but he can fill in at whatever other role you need him to. Sign some O-line depth, defensive line. John Franklin Myers from the Jets. He's a solid player. Malcolm Roach, 2-year deal. Cody Barton, Levi Wallace, Brandon Jones, Will Lutz. I mean, not really much there for the Broncos, to be honest. But let's move on to this depth chart. Bo Nix officially named the starter, I believe today or yesterday. I might have got my days mixed up. But Bo Nix is the starter for the Broncos. Did beat out Jarrett Stidham. I think he'll be the starter most of the season, barring injury. I don't really see any reason that you go back to Stid. You kind of know what he is. He's a I would say high level backup. He's not a bad player at all. But Bo Nix, as I said, I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I don't think he's got the Williams, Daniels, even Penix type level of like play that he can reach. But I think he can be a just very solid NFL quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you get the weapons around him to elevate his limited play, then you'll be fine. I mean, crap, we'd probably rather have that in New Orleans right now than Derek Carr. But Javonte Williams at running back, supposed to be his breakout year, I guess you could say. I kind of thought he was going to have that last year, but he was coming back from the ACL. Just took him some more time than people expected. I'm big on Javonte, though. I like Javonte a lot. I think he's going to be a really good running back this year. Jaleel McLaughlin's kind of year 2. He's like your change of pace, third down back. And then you do have the Esteem from Notre Dame. Looking at receivers, did lose Jeudy, but you did keep Courtland Sutton. He's definitely their one. I like Sutton a lot. Is he a top 20 receiver? Probably not. Maybe 30. He's in that 25 to 30 range, I would say. Tim Patrick is back from like 2 years of injuries. He's back at I think he's going to be the 2. He's looking good in training camp and everything. Josh Reynolds at year 3. Like, not a bad trio right there. And then Marvin Mims Jr., the second-year guy at Oklahoma, he definitely showed some flashes last season. So, I mean, you could have a worse receiving room. And then if Troy Franklin looks like what people expected, it's not bad. It really isn't. Tight ends, Adam Troutman, don't expect much there, but Greg Dulcich maybe has a bounce-back year. He looked pretty good in the past year. I can't remember if he's a second-year or third-year guy. I don't know. But he was good at one point. Then he got hurt, and that's just taking him some time to get back. Offensive line, Garrett Bowles signed a big contract year before last, maybe. He's getting paid a lot of money. Very good O-tackle, starting at the left side now. Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. Believe it's his second year there. Quinn Miners, Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg in the inside. Not a bad O-line. Good tackles for sure. But the offense, it really goes as far as Bo Nix can take them, which is a lot of pressure on a rookie, but hey, when you're like 28, that's what happens. I think he's older than me, and he's a rookie. So, looking at the defense, Zach Allen at defensive end. Got a lot of money from the Cardinals a couple years ago. DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, running a 3-4. Not a bad 3 at defensive line. Malcolm Roach swinging in there as well. Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, Alex Singleton, Cody Barton at linebacker. I don't really see Browning as a pass rusher at all, so I'm not sure about that. Let me look and see how many sacks he's had. Had 4.5 sacks last year, 5 the year before. So yeah, maybe he's got a little bit of pass rush in him, but not anything to the extremes of Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack that we saw with the Chargers. But the linebackers, nothing incredible, but they're fine. Pat Surtain, incredible cornerback, one of the best in the NFL, arguably the best in the NFL in my opinion. He's at one side, Demaryi Mathis at the other, Jaquan McMillan, Riley Moss, Levi Wallace. That's a good cornerback room. And then at safety, P.J. Locke, Brandon Jones, 2 of the guys you signed this offseason. Not the best there. They're both replacement level guys, but your cornerback room I would say is really good, especially with Surtain locking down one side of the field. But it's a solid defense. Not incredible names, but I think they got some good players that'll make it work. And then, as I said on offense, they have some talent, but it's nothing game changing. Let's look at their schedule, and I'll pull up their win totals. Let's see. Where you at, DraftKings? Broncos 5.5. Wow, that's pretty low. -130, +110 for the under. Looking at the schedule though, at Seattle week 1. Versus Pittsburgh, at Tampa, at the Jets, versus the Raiders, versus the Chargers, at the Saints. I mean, and then versus Carolina. That's a very good first 8 weeks. Like, you're probably losing that Jets game, maybe the Tampa game. Seattle's not an easy place to play at, but I mean, you got some winnable games in there. You really do. And for Bo Nix to start with that, at Seattle, his opening week, first NFL game, that's pretty rough. But it's a bearable schedule. It really is. Now, just make sure he doesn't get killed by T.J. Watt week 2. But besides that, not a bad schedule to open up the season. It does get a little bit tougher, though. Week 9 at Baltimore, Week 10 at Kansas City, versus Atlanta, at Vegas, versus Cleveland on Monday night, and then a late bye Week 14. Versus Indianapolis, at the Chargers, at the Bengals, versus the Chiefs to end the season. After that bye week, pretty rough. Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. Don't like that. You really need to win some games in the first 8, and I think they can. I kind of like the over here, to be honest. Like, 5 feels low. And what did they win last year? Let's see. They won 8 games? No way. Yeah, they won 8 games. Wow. Yeah, they didn't going from Russell Wilson to Bo Nix and losing Judy, like, they didn't lose enough to go down 3 wins. I'm taking the over. Never expected to, but I'm definitely taking the over. Let's see. Broncos over 5.5 is -130. And what is the question for this team? I mean, it's hard not to go quarterback every single time with these, but I'm trying to think what else there can be. Do you have the? I was gonna say, do you have the weapons to elevate Nix? But I don't know if it's that crazy. Defense, maybe. I don't know, man. It's Bo Nix. Like, you got to talk about Bo here. Do you have the weapons to elevate Bo Nix? I'm just going to put that. Do you have the weapons to elevate Nix? All right. So that is it for the Broncos. Never thought I'd take the over, to be honest, there, but 5.5 is just a very low line. But that is it for them. Let's move on to the Raiders. With as little excitement as I had for the Chargers and the Broncos, I probably have even less for the Raiders this year, honestly. We have the Raiders who just announced Gardner Minshew as a starting quarterback, beating out Aiden O'Connell. What a thrilling competition that was. Two elite quarterbacks in the NFL battling it out for the right to start for such a storied franchise like the Las Vegas Raiders. We are going to look at the draft first, as always, for these teams. And Brock Bowers was the first-round pick for the Raiders. Shocker, to be honest. I don't think many people expected him to go there. There was some talks of, maybe as high as like the Colts pick that, or wait, I don't know where the Colts picked at. I don't know. It's been a long day. There's talks of them going to the Colts, maybe falling to the Saints at 14. Instead, the Raiders said, you know what? We got a tight end last year in Michael Mayer, but screw it. We're taking another. We're taking Brock Bowers right here. Generational tight end talent. We're going to take him and apparently not even start him. That's what the word is, because he don't know how to block. Because who cares, man? Just put the dude on the freaking field and let him catch the ball. Jackson Powers Johnson, second-round pick, Oregon offensive guard. Very good player, one of the better guards in the draft. That's a very good 1-2 for the Raiders. DeCamarion Richardson from Mississippi State at cornerback. Not a bad player at all. Tommy Eichenberg, Ohio State linebacker. Dylan Laube, New Hampshire running back. Football powerhouse, New Hampshire. And apparently he is making a name for himself and possibly going to be the number 2 for the Raiders and maybe even get some snaps as a 1. Pretty crazy story there. Number 208 overall. I can't even. That's a 6th-round pick probably. But shout out to him, New Hampshire University. But the draft not bad. The top 2 picks I like a lot. Depending on what you'd get out of Bowers, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know. The Raiders are just confusing, man. They're just confusing. You lost Jimmy G, Brian Hoyer, Brandon Bolden. What a trio right there. Josh Jacobs, though, big loss to the Packers. Kind of a shocker. I don't think many people expected Jacobs to leave, honestly, and I think he was one of the first signings of free agency to the Packers. Pretty big contract as well. Hunter Renfrow has not been re-signed. Just a weird career for him. The past 2 years have been just people love him still, and I just saw today that the Falcons are wanting to sign another receiver, and everybody's like, go sign Renfrow, go sign Renfrow. Crap, there's probably Saints fans that want him as a 3. But yet he can't really play for the Raiders. It's just weird. Austin Hooper, Jermaine Illuminor, DJ Fluker, Jerry Tillery, Bilal Nichols, Louisiana Tech legend Amik Robertson to the Lions. Not really much significant outside of Josh Jacobs. Amik kind of started for them last year, I think, in the nickel role, but you can replace him pretty easily. Looking at the additions, Minshew, wow, 2 years, $25 million. Did not realize that. 15 guaranteed, which, for a quarterback, that's still probably in the bottom, or not in the top 30 for quarterback contracts, but that's a good bit of money for Gardner. Amir Abdullah, Alexander Mattinson, got him from the Vikings. I don't think he's really going to play much. If he might not even make the roster, honestly. Who knows? Michael Gallup signed him, then he retired. Jalen Guyton stole him from the Chargers. Andres Pete, Saints legend. The year that the Saints kind of wanted him back, we're like, hey, it could be pretty bad if we lose Pete. At least he's good when he's out there, kind of. Nah, he's going to go somewhere else, and he'll probably be a freaking all-pro. Cody Whitehair from I think he was on the Bears still last year. Adam Butler, John Jenkins, Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins, that was one of the first signings as well. 4 years, $110 million for a defensive tackle. A lot of money. And I think he might be... No, it's Christian Barmore in New England that's got a medical condition. Looking at this depth chart, what a group you got here. Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Aiden O'Connell. Nathan Peterman is back in Vegas. Zamir White, Alexander Mattinson, Dylan Laube, Amir Abdullah. Looking at receivers, though, you got Devontae Adams. You have Jacoby Myers. Very good 1-2 punch, in my opinion. I don't know how long Devontae's going to be a Raider. I think he does get traded this year, or he should. I don't know if they will. but I think he should get traded this year. Trey Tucker, Jalen Guyton, not really much else, to be honest, for the receivers. And, if you do trade Devontae, it's going to look pretty bad. Tight ends, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Harrison Bryant, not a bad group at all. Offensive line, Colton Miller, Cody Whitehair, Andre James, Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford Jr. Sure, never heard of him. You do have Andres Pete at backup. You have Jackson Powers Johnson at backup. Crap, I'd probably start both of them, to be honest. The offense, though, very limited, to say the least. It's going to go as far as Devontae can take you. I think Zamir can have a good season, but I think it's going to be more just like pure volume and fantasy relevance, more so than like leading them to wins. And maybe Brock Bowers, performs, but who really knows there. Defense, Max Crosby, stud. Argument for a top 5 pass rusher in the NFL, if not even higher, honestly. He's a very good player. Christian Wilkins paired up with him on the defensive line is fun. John Jenkins, Malcolm Kuntz, running a 4-3 here. You got Tyree Wilson as well, the Texas Tech prospect, I guess, project. I don't really know how to describe what he has been. I think that he was drafted last year. Not a bad defensive line, really isn't. Divine Diablo, kind of a nickel linebacker kind of guy, more of a safety playing linebacker. Robert Spillane, Luke Masterson, Tommy Eichenberg. Not a bad linebacking group, honestly. You have 2 linebackers named Amari backing up, though. That's interesting. Looking at the secondary, Jack Jones at cornerback, pretty good. Jacorian Bennett at the 2. Marcus Epps, Trevon Mooring at safety, not bad safeties. Nate Hobbs at the nickel. Not a cornerback room, not a defensive back room to write home about, honestly. The strength of this defense is definitely the defensive line, and Daniel Carlson at kicker. He's one of the best kickers in the NFL. I like him. Not much to be excited about here. Let's take a look at the line, which is 6.5 over for -130, under for +110. I haven't even looked at the schedule, but I'm taking the under. I'll tell you that. I don't like this team. They're not good. Opening up at the Chargers, at the Ravens, versus the Panthers, versus the Browns. So not a bad first 4. Chargers, Baltimore, you could lose both of those, honestly. You could beat Carolina, could beat the Browns. But, none of those games are absolutely L's, I would say. At Denver, get that out the way before it gets too cold. Versus Pittsburgh, at the Rams, versus Kansas City, at Cincinnati, bye week. That is, you got some losses in there. Probably winning 2-3 games. You can beat Carolina, you can beat the Chargers, maybe sneak past Cleveland, could beat Denver, could beat Pittsburgh. Don't know what the Rams are going to be. It's not an awful schedule. The back half looks pretty rough, though. At Miami, versus Denver, at Kansas City, at Tampa Bay, versus Atlanta on a Monday night. The Kansas City game, that's the Black Friday game as well. Versus Jacksonville. So, that's like straight playoff teams plus the Broncos, which I kind of like. And then at the Saints and versus the Chargers to end the year. I got to take the under. There's no way I can't, to be honest. They're just not a good football team, and for plus money, you got to go for that. So Raiders under 6.5 plus 110. God, that's too deep. Freaking Braves. Let's see. Biggest question for the Raiders. When do you trade when do you bite the bullet on Devontae Adams? That's pretty much what it's got to be. Because there's just really no reason to keep him around, to be honest, and I just don't really care much else about this team. It's just not a good football team, and it's really just not a good division overall. Let's move on to the Chiefs. Let's take a look at the 2-time Super Bowl defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, going for a 3-peat this year. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. They got the good stars on this team. They're a freaking powerhouse, man. It don't matter who they have on this roster. They have Mahomes, they have Reed, they have Kelce. They're going to be good, and they got the power of the Swifties. So this is going to be a very good football team yet again. I don't even have to tell you what the roster is, but I'm going to anyway. Looking at the draft for the Chiefs, pretty big one right here. You got Xavier Worthy, the receiver out of Texas that ran the fastest 40-yard dash in NFL history. I believe it was a 4.21, I think. I think 4.22 was the John Ross time. Whatever it is, too fast. That's pretty much it. Now, he does weigh like a $120, but he is a very, very fast player that will be utilized in, I'm sure, very fun ways with this very interesting and fun Kansas City Chiefs offense. You also drafted Jared Wiley out of TCU at tight end. Been some rumors that he's going to be a really good tight end for the future. You know, maybe not this year, but whenever Kelsey starts to slow down a little bit, that he might be the one that can step up into that role. Some other guys, defensive backs, O-line depth, nothing crazy really else from the draft, but the story was definitely worthy. Looking at the losses, you lost Circle Jerk McKinnon, Richie James, MVS is finally gone, Blake Bell, Jody Fortson, Donovan Smith, Willie Gay Jr. to the Saints. Biggest loss, though, was L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans. You traded him, and he went and got a bag. Not sure what you got back from him, maybe a third, fourth, something like that. It wasn't nothing crazy. It was more so, we're going to send him to y'all so y'all can pay him, and we're just going to not have that on our books. L'Jarius, though, I mean, tech guy getting paid, I think the biggest contract for a cornerback in history at the time. Might have been reset, I'm not sure. But he's a very, very good player, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, and, I mean, honestly, savior of their season last year. He made the big play at the goal line on the Ravens. Just an elite cornerback that it's gonna be interesting to watch him and Awuzie for the Titans. I'm kind of excited to watch that Titans team. They also lost Mike Edwards and Tommy Townsend, the punter. Additions. You added Carson Wentz. How about that? Almost MVP Carson Wentz that time. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back. Going into last offseason, people thought he was being cut. Yet he still stayed around. He's still around now. And now that McKinnon is gone, you probably see him around for the future, to be honest. Good for him to make this team. Luis Zamit. I think this is a rugby guy. He's listed at running back, receiver, and special teams for a 3-year deal. So there's got to be something weird there. Just something that the Chiefs do, because why not? Marquise Brown, Hollywood, $11 million 1-year deal. Already banged up a little bit, but whenever he plays, he's going to be very good. I love Hollywood. Super Bowl champion Mecole Hardman caught the game-winning touchdown pass. Back again. I mean, whenever he's on the Chiefs, everything feels right. It didn't feel right whenever he was on the Jets. And then Travis Kelce, 2 years, $34 million, highest paid tight end in the NFL, as he should be, because he's the best to ever play. Irv Smith Jr., Michael Dana, Chris Jones got a big bag. 5 years, $158 million, my lord. But he's probably the best defensive lineman in football now. I mean, maybe the difference in him and Myles Garrett, like, yeah, Myles Garrett gets the DPOYs because he's a DN, but Chris Jones might be the best now that Aaron Donald's gone. Like, he is an absolute freak and getting paid as he should. Derek Nottie, Drew Tranquill, 3-year, $19 million at linebacker, not a bad player at all. And then you did sign the punt god, fresh off of some wrongful accusations that he beat. I mean, the rich get richer. I guess that's pretty much what it's looking like here, because Matt Ariza, he is a very good punter whenever he gets a chance and whenever he's not allegedly sexually assaulting teenage girls. So let's move on to the depth chart. Starting at quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, there's this guy named Patrick Mahomes. Pretty good player, above average, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, I would say, if not the freaking best player to ever touch football. He's incredible. 3 championships already, 4 Super Bowl appearances. You just can go freaking on and on about this man. Whenever he's on the field, you have a chance to win. You're probably the favorite, to be honest. Isaiah Pacheco at running back. I love me some Pacheco. Had a pretty good year last year, and I expect more of the same this season. Clyde is the number 2. Keontae Ingram is there as well. Rashee Rice, does he get suspended? It doesn't look like it. I heard shockingly little about that, which is kind of crazy, given that the DUI arrest that he had a freaking person die, and the NFL is just like, you're a chief, who cares? Marquise Brown is doubtful for the opening week and maybe the week following. It's going to be a couple weeks, but it doesn't really matter. Get them healthy for the playoffs, and they'll be ready. And then you also have Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, Mecole Hardman. You got a lot of names. Now, none of them are necessarily great outside of, I would say Rasheed and Marquise are very, very good players. But Xavier, what's it going to be? Like, is he just going to be another fast guy that doesn't really blossom into an NFL player? Possibly, especially given his weight. But I do think the Chiefs are going to make some interesting ways to get him involved, get him some handoffs and little jet passes and stuff like that, like they did with Scott Moore and Kadarius Toney. Looking at tight end, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Irv Smith as well. Pretty good tight end room. I guess, if Travis ever wants to go to the Eras Tour, since that's going to be going on in the United States during football season, he could just take a week off and Jared could step up and play tight end, something like that. So that's why they had to sign some depth. Whatever Taylor says goes. Kingsley Suamalatali, whatever that is, at left tackle. I don't know who that is. I'm going to say he's great. Jawan Taylor at right tackle, been pretty good addition to that team. Trey Smith, the big man out of Tennessee, absolute steal in the draft. Creed Humphrey at center, one of the best centers in football. Joe Tooney at left guard, very good guard, like a stout offensive line, as they need to have. Like, it's whenever you have Patrick Mahomes, protect the freaking man. That's all that matters. Looking at the defense, George Karlaftis at DN has really turned into a really good NFL player. Mike Dana on the other side, and then Derek Noddy and the freak Chris Jones at defensive tackle. Good O-line. Good D-line. Got some depth as well. Neil Farrell, LSU boy. Malik Hearing, like Charles Omawini. Oh, I don't know what I just said. Amanahu. Amenahu. Charles Amenahu. That's it. How about that? And then Felix Anudiki Uzoma. Look at that. Chiefs just draft freaking random guys from not even the United States and say, come line up and run. Drew Tranquill at linebacker. Nick Bolton, very good player. Leo Chanel. I like these linebackers. That's a good group. Might as well. Whenever you're the Chiefs, just get freaking good players. Nick Bolton's very, very good, though. Trent McDuffie at cornerback. As good as Snead was, Trent McDuffie's almost to that level. Like, I think give him another year or two, and he's going to be one of the better cornerbacks in football. Justin Reed at safety. Loved him. Whenever Tyron left, it kind of just was a seamless fit to throw him back out there for the Chiefs after a little bit. Brian Cook at the other safety. Joshua Williams and Kamari Connor. Not the best on that side for the cornerbacks, to be honest. That might be a problem, but it feels like the Chiefs are very, very good at developing the defense under, I believe it's Veach is the defensive coordinator. Then you have Harrison Butker, America's favorite at kicker, and Matt Ariza, America's favorite at punter. What a group of special teams people right there, man. You got a guy that hates women, and then a guy that allegedly assaulted women. I mean, pair that with Travis Kelce and the Swifties, and you've got a heck of a fan base. Let's look at the schedule though. You have opening week versus Baltimore. As the champions they get a home game on Thursday night. It's going to be a very fun game. Excited to watch that. Lamar versus Mahomes, rematch of the AFC Championship, versus Cincinnati week 2 as well. I mean, you can't really have much better games to open up the season for that. And now, is that what you want as a Chiefs fan? Probably not, especially without Hollywood. But when you got Mahomes, what's it matter? At Atlanta, week 3 on Sunday Night Football. That's a fun one. At the Chargers, and then versus the Saints on Monday Night Football. At home in Arrowhead, Saints going to lose by 35. That's a pretty tough. That's a pretty tough opening 5, to be honest. Now, I mean, the Saints, they're going to destroy them. But that's 3 primetime games and 2 3:00 games. And then your bye week is week 6. Do you want the early bye if you're a Chiefs fan? Probably not, to be honest. I'd probably want the later one, especially with a team where, like, you're going to win the division and it doesn't really matter. So get healthy, get rested up towards the end, and get you another ring. San Francisco right out of the bye, though, keeping that stretch of tough games going at San Francisco. Believe that's Fox game of the week. Still have not played a 12 o'clock game, and you don't do it the next week either. At Las Vegas versus Tampa Bay on a Monday night. Whenever Baker Mayfield plays Patrick Mahomes, it's just must-see TV. So you had to do that. Versus Denver, your first 12 o'clock game of the year, week 10. And then you go to Buffalo, to Carolina, 12 o'clock. There you go. Versus Vegas on Black Friday. Versus the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. At Cleveland in December at 12. Versus the Texans. Oh, that's a Saturday game in December. I love those Saturday games. And then you have Wednesday Night Football on Christmas this year versus the Steelers. Whenever you have Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, you just have to put it on TV. I mean, it's just two of the best quarterbacks in football, man. And then you go to Denver January 5th, last game of the season. That's an interesting one. Like, if you're a Chiefs fan, you're probably going to have the division locked up, but you really want like that game to just not matter because you don't want to play. I would not want to play Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce in high altitude January 5th, the week before you play a potential playoff game. Like that's a pretty rough one to look at, honestly. Andy Reid probably doesn't even want to go there. He's a little overweight. I mean, he don't want to go there and breathe that high altitude. But the schedule is tough, but it's the freaking Chiefs, man. Like, they're going to win games. Now, are they going to win 12? That's what Vegas thinks. 11.5, minus 115, under minus 105. It's hard to say you just win 12 games. Like, that's a pretty crazy number in my opinion. But with the Chiefs, like, did they get worse? Possibly. I mean, Snead was an absolutely stud for them last year. So maybe they got worse, and maybe you take the under. It's a tough schedule, but they're the Chiefs. They have Patrick Mahomes. Like, you know what? Screw it. Let's take the under. Or can I take 3 unders in this division? I could see them winning 11 games. But then who's the best team in the AFC? Nah, the division sucks. I'm going over. Chiefs over 11.5, minus 115. You just can't bet against Mahomes and Kelce and Reed, man. You just can't. But yeah, biggest question for the Chiefs, can they win another freaking ring? Like, can you get the three-peat? And that's pretty much it. The regular season does not matter to this team. It's like the Warriors whenever we were at our top of the game with KD and Steph. Like, it didn't matter what happened from Halloween till freaking Easter. As long as we were ready to roll mid-April, it didn't. Like, that's all that mattered. Like, as long as we were healthy, we were going to be good, and we were going to probably win the championship, and we did. But yeah, that is it for this one. I'm going to cut it off very quickly because I'll keep it under an hour. So shout out to me for being quick. Shout out to the AFC West for being dreadful. And yeah, go Chiefs, I guess. Hey, who cares, man?
This ain't how it's supposed to be. It should be just you and me.